Hello and welcome back. Today we are here with a very special and very insightful Dr. Michael Klaper. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be with you and your viewers.
So you are a classically trained Western physician with a postgraduate training in internal medicine, surgery, anesthesiology, and obstetrics. You have been in general practice for the past 48 years?
Yes.
You are an author, health educator, and event speaker. Some of your best-selling books include Vegan Nation, Pure and Simple, and Pregnancy, Children, and the Vegan Diet. You've been in some of my favorite life-changing health documentaries like Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, The End of Meat, What the Health, just to name a few. You're such an inspiration and have helped countless individuals regain their health. I'm very, very, very grateful for this time with you today.
I'm grateful to be with you.
So let's get into the questions. You worked in a trauma unit for a while and saw the effects of a lot of violence. Because of this, you made a decision to live a life of nonviolence, but you were still eating animals. What made you come to realize that you had to make a change in your diet in order to live a way that aligned more with love?
Well, we have to turn the clock back to 1981. I was a resident in anesthesiology at Vancouver General Hospital. Day after day in the operating room on the cardiovascular anesthesia service, I'm putting people to sleep and watch surgeons open up their chest and the arteries in their heart and pull this yellow guck out that looked like chicken fat, because it was chicken fat and cow fat and pig fat and the fats of the animals these people are eating. And my dad died of clogged arteries. I have those genes. I knew I was going to be laying on that operating table with that striker saw going up my sternum, and I sure didn't want that to happen. But more to your, so I was getting, there was already studies in the medical literature showing that a plant-based diet will reverse atherosclerosis, very important. And so I was getting the message in the operating room, change your diet to a plant-based diet. But the real clincher happened in a restaurant when I was out with a fellow anesthesia resident, and I was pontificating on the virtues of living a non-violent life, a life of ahimsa, free of violence. And I was doing this while polishing off a porterhouse steak at the local Kagan Cleaver restaurant. And my friend looked at me with great compassion and said, "That's all very nice, Michael, but if you want to get the violence out of your life, you might want to start with that piece of meat on your plate, because in satisfying your taste desire for the taste of flesh in your mouth, you are paying for the death of the animal and for the next one in line at the slaughterhouse." And as soon as he said that, all the old rationalizations jumped into my head. Well, that's what they raised them for. The animal's dead already, all of that. But before I could get the words out of my lips, the little voice on my shoulder said, "You know, he's right. He's right." Now, I had done much of my growing up on my uncle's dairy farm in Wisconsin. I saw the truth of putting meat on the table. I saw the old dairy cow shot in the head. I chopped the heads off chickens. I know the violence inherent in all animal products that humans eat. And I couldn't deny it. When I went up to pay for the steak dinner, I felt complicit in a crime, because I love those beautiful cows on my uncle's farm. And here I was paying for their death. So between what I was seeing in the operating room and what I knew in my heart that night to be true, that was the end of my animal eating. Well, my body loved it. Within 12 weeks, a 20-pound spare tire of fat melted off my waist. My high blood pressure came to normal. My high cholesterol came to normal. I felt great waking up in a nice lean body every day. And at that point, I knew I didn't want to be an anesthesiologist and spend my time putting people to sleep. I'd rather go back to general practice and help them wake up. And so I did, and went back to general practice and started using plant-based nutrition as the base of my practice. And my patients who followed a plant-based diet got leaner, their blood pressure came down, get them off their meds. So I became the happiest doctor I know. My patients get healthy. And so that's been the story of the past 35 years. And I've been a passionate advocate of plant-based nutrition for healing not only human bodies, but healing our relationship, our torture relationship with these wonderful animals, and with planet Earth itself. So a plant-based diet is a life-affirming diet, and so I'm firmly on the side of that.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that. And a side question, why do you think there's such a disconnect in people who want to be living a life of giving and receiving love, yet still commit violence to animals? Like it's so disconnected. How did we get lost there?
It's a remarkable thing we humans with this human mind can do. And I never wag my finger, even verbally, at people still eating meat because I didn't have that epiphany till I was 34 years old. For 33 years, I ate meat like everybody else did. And I know what it's like to have that door in your heart just closed. To sleep that sleep. They're still asleep. Who don't see it. Until you see something, you don't see it.
Right.
Once you see it, you're kind of obligated to act on it. And again, this is comfort food. This is the food our parents feed us when we're kids, and the hot dogs at the ballpark, and the burgers, for dinner. And we don't think twice about it. We don't ask about it, the kids, although they're starting to more and more. But also the meat industry's been dastardly clever in making billions and billions of animals destined for death disappear out of sight. We never see these animals. In America, we kill billions of chickens every year and hundreds of millions of cows. You never see them. They're in these anonymous sheds up on the hillsides as you're driving through the country. And so the meat and dairy folks have been very good to keep the horrors of the realities of factory farm out of the American viewpoint. You never see it. You don't see it, and all they want to do, folks, always that taste of beef in your mouth, delicious. Then that's where the reasoning stops. But most people have open hearts. So many people, once they see the truth of it, and you're doing such beautiful work to get that truth out in front of people, once they see it, so many people become vegan for that reason. They just don't want to be part of all that unnecessary suffering. If we had to eat, your house cat has no choice, or the mountain lion has no choice. They are obligated carnivores, but we have choice, and we have no need to be eating the flesh of animals. And once people understand that and know how delicious a whole food plant-based diet can be with all these wonderful cuisines, Italian, East Indian, and Asian, they make the change happily, and their health benefits, and they sleep better at night knowing they haven't contributed to the suffering of animals. So we've got a lot of work to do to keep opening those hearts one at a time, but through broadcasts like that, through thousands at a time, we hope.
Yeah, I hope we open their hearts before a doctor has to open their hearts. You went from being an anesthesiologist, putting people to sleep, to now waking people up. How did you get into educating medical students on health and nutrition, which is so needed?
Indeed. I've, as I said, been a plant-based physician the past 35 years. For the past almost 9 years, I was on the staff at True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California, where they do applied nutrition done right. They do plant-based nutrition along with therapeutic medical water fasting to really reverse diseases and get people on the right track. And I loved working there. I've supervised thousands of fasts. I really saw plant-based nutrition as most powerful. But here I was working all day in a clinic, spending an hour with each patient. And at the end of a long day, I've helped 8 people. And I realized it's just too slow. The real acupuncture point is all these young doctors coming out of med school who never learn a thing about nutrition, not their fault. But there's this gaping black hole in medical education called the effect of your patient's diet on their body. We never learn about it. We have no respect for dietetics, not real medicine. And so we just blow right past it, just get into medicine and surgery, what I call pharmacosclerosis. That's in the students' brains, that the drugs are the only cure. And that's the problem. We're graduating these nutritionally unaware physicians. And I said, how wonderful it'd be if doctors realize the importance of their patient's diet. We treat the patient's diet like the Harry Potter movies, the arch villain Voldemort, the name that must not be spoken. Oh, don't ask about the patient's diet. Oh, that's cultural. We're Americans. We can eat whatever we want. Yeah, we can, but your arteries have something to say about that. Your colon wall's got something to say about that. Breast tissue, prostate gland has something to say about that. And the young doctors faced with a patient in front of them who's overweight, diabetic, hypertensive, clogged up and inflamed. Must be bad genes. No, doctor, it's what they've been eating for the past 15 years. Ask them before you order another $1,000 scan or another $500 lab test, ask them what they ate yesterday. And if the answer's full of buffalo wings and burgers, that's why they're sitting in front of you, overweight, diabetic, hypertensive, clogged up and inflamed. Send them to the plant-based dietitian, let her do the counseling. There's going to be more and more of these wonderful skilled dietitians who are vegan themselves, or at least aware of plant-based nutrition. Let her do the counseling, because the doctors say, well, I don't have time, I don't get paid for it. You don't have to, doctor. There are professionals who will help you do that. You just need to understand that there's a person with a dietary dysfunction sitting in front of you. Send them to the dietitian, let her do the counseling, let her show them the videos, let her take them shopping, whatever it takes. You just see them back in a month and see if they're not leaner and healthier. Let's start incorporating the patient's diet in as part of your diagnosis and your treatment programs, because it's the linchpin in all these diseases, the obesity, the diabetes, the hypertension, the clogged artery. It's not etiology unknown, it's the food. I have a plaque in my office that I had True North there, it's the food, it's been the food all along, and that's the truth of it. So trying to get that in the heads of these young docs. So before COVID, I was going around to the nation's medical schools. We established a nonprofit initiative called Moving Medicine Forward, and people can learn about that. We'll give them the link. And been going around the nation's medical school, North America, up in Canada, down in Mexico, but in Australia, New Zealand, and Europe. And the students were so receptive to this. They would come up to me after I gave them this lecture called What I Wish I Learned in Medical School About Nutrition. And I gave them, as I stride up to the microphone, I say, I'm going to give you the lecture I wish someone had given me 50 years ago. It would have changed the course of my entire medical career, would have changed every diagnosis I made. So I give them that lecture, and they are so grateful. Why didn't somebody tell us? So we're so glad that you told us this while we're still in med school. So that is now, since COVID came along and I'm not flying around to med schools, we put it all online. People can go to my website, drklaper.com, and you can see the very presentation I give them, which I learned in medical school about nutrition. But you can learn how to support our Moving Medicine Forward initiative. And again, that's drklaper.com, all spelled out, DOCTORKLAPER.com. So my mission for however many years I have, I'm turning 74 this year, but I feel great. I'm on no medication. I ran 12 miles this morning.
You ran 12 miles this morning?
Yeah, right. And, I'm a healthy guy. I feel like I did when I was 40. So I'm probably going to be here a little while longer. And I want to use every one of those remaining years to be a medical Johnny Appleseed and plant as many seeds in these young docs' heads as I can. It's not just the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists, the podiatrists, the physical therapists, the dietitians. They all need to incorporate this into their clinical awareness, and everybody will benefit. Most of all, our patients.
When I was doing my research on you and everything you've done, and which is epic, one of my main questions was like, how did he get the institutions that are so deep into preaching meat and dairy to agree to educate their students on plant-based nutrition? How did you do that?
Right, where there's a will, there's a way, and you're putting your finger on a very important point, of course, that most of these big name medical schools, they're not really open to this message. They get a lot of their money from the meat and dairy and pharmaceutical industries. They don't want to really let this in the door as far as their curriculum go, though we are working to do that. So we just did an end run around. We go right to the students. In every medical school, every medical school in the early classes, there's always 30, 40 students by now. They've seen films like Forks Over Knives. They've seen what the hell, the light is on. They know that there's something up with nutrition here. They just need an experienced physician to come and legitimize this, to put the stamp of, yes, this is not crazy. This is official science and the key to really helping your patients. And so in many of these medical schools, they have a lifestyle medicine interest group, an LMIG, Because lifestyle medicine, this is really part of lifestyle medicine, because food is 90% of it. You're just not going to be healthy eating the standard American diet.
Yeah.
But once you go to a whole food plant-based diet, yes, you need to get enough sleep, you need to get exercise, pure water, reduce your stress, you have loving relationships. Yes, that's all important. And it's part of lifestyle medicine. And I urge the students, join the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And they've got wonderful courses that validate and corroborate this on plant-based nutrition, et cetera. So we go right to the students. Those groups already exist there. They put out the notices on the internet. They arrange for the samosas from the Indian restaurant to get the students there for lunch. Well, at least that used to happen when I went to med school. But now they just all do it via Zoom. Okay. So yes, we go right to the students, and we've had very little pushback on that. I mean, what's the school going to do? The students can't learn this, and the students are going to learn what they want to learn. So that's how we've been doing it. We do an end run around the administrative roadblocks, and the students, and the word gets around. On our website, we have a Slack channel that people can join. And I'll send you the link. And so if you are a health professional of any type, come join the Slack channel and talk about what's happening at your med school or what isn't happening, or at your hospital. How is your hospital incorporating plant-based nutrition into their dietary program? So there's lots of communication we want to foster. It's not just me giving a lecture. We want the students talking to each other. And once a month, we run our plant-based forum in clinical nutrition, and people are welcome to join. I'll give you that information as well. Once a month, we all meet and talk about a clinical case, and then how we can use plant-based nutrition to get our patients healthier.
Amazing. That's so admirable and so needed. Next is jails and hospitals, but I know that Dr. Barnard's working on that. The physicians committee is working on that. So I'm just so grateful for you guys. So grateful.
Absolutely. Really kudos to Dr. Barnard. And at his behest, I went to Sacramento to testify on a bill to get plant-based meals on the menus at every hospital that gets state money in California, every public school, and every prison, jail, etc. And so Dr. Barnard and his whole PCRM team have just been invaluable in helping to get this message out. It's an honor to work with them.
Seriously, and I know that I'm sure he feels the same way about you and every other person who's helping push that along, because everybody is so valuable, equally valuable in this whole message. You guys, like I was thinking the other day, side note, how truly special it is for me to live during this time, to be able to speak to all of you legends. You guys are legends.
I just work here, lady, as they say. I just do it. You do what's in front of you.
I know it's all God's work, but it's you guys are. You're changing the world.
As I say, I'm working for the kids and the animals and the planet at this point. I mean, what else is there to do at this stage? Knowing what we know and knowing what our heart is telling us, what our head is telling us, what the earth is telling us. I'm working for the animals. I'm working for the kids and the planet. And no, it's the only game in town at this point.
Yeah. I want to touch on veganism, babies, and toddlers. Is it safe and also beneficial for women to have a vegan pregnancy as opposed to eating whatever they want while carrying and growing a tiny human?
Oh, such a profound question. When I first became vegan in 1981, I had young women coming to me in my general practice who were pregnant and vegan. The doctor, is this safe? And I went, well, I sure hope it was. But I ran across an article that was done in 1977 at a place called The Farm in Tennessee, where the midwives there would take in unwed mothers and help them through their pregnancy. Many, they're not all unwed, but many women, but it was a vegan institution there. And so something like they reported on 772 births over 10 years of vegan pregnancies. And their numbers were spectacular. And normally eating the standard Western diet with all the dairy and meat and oils and sugars, and the women get obese They develop gestational diabetes. Their babies get huge, so they can't get out the birth canal. They develop complications like preeclampsia. They bleed after delivery. Obstetrics can be a risky business, and we just assume you're eating for two, eat whatever you want. Have another cheeseburger. But here at the farm, 700 plus women go through, and what they found out is what I found in the several dozen vegan women I delivered, is that they go through these beautiful pregnancies. They do not develop high blood pressure. They don't develop gestational diabetes. They don't get obese. And all the time the relatives are saying, that baby, you're a vegan, that baby's going to come out weighing 2 pounds and scrawny. They all deliver these beautiful 6-7 pound kids, vigorous, vital signs. None of them needed cesarean sections. They didn't need forceps deliveries, and it was just exemplary. So then I said, yes. Now you can't cheat on your body or your baby. You really do have to eat the high protein, the beans and the lentils and the greens and the salads and the whole grains, and you eat a healthy meal and an extra 10-15 grams of protein, or an extra hummus sandwich or an extra scoop of lentil stew for the baby. But in the 20 plus vegan babies I delivered, I had the same experience. These moms had these great pregnancies. The babies came out beautifully, and now that was in the 1980s, the 90s, and the 2000s go by. I watched these little babies grow up vegan to these lovely, healthy adults, lean, active, muscular, bright, intellectual, and without high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. And a number of them married vegan spouses, and they watched the second generation of vegan babies grow up. They're now adults, as I've got all these gray hairs in my beard. And there's no question, we are plant-eating hominids. A whole food plant-based diet that nourishes us beautifully. We have fingers on our hands, not claws. We've got saliva with starch digesting enzymes, and our small mouths with grinding teeth. We've got the same digestive system that our gorilla and bonobo cousins have, and they're eating leaves and fruits tonight. And we should be eating a whole food plant-based diet, and our body responds. When we start eating the meat and the dairy and the oils and the sugars, it blows us up and makes us inflamed, and eventually makes us sick and dead. So yes, it's absolutely safe. Now there is a little bit of an art to getting through a vegan pregnancy and raising a vegan child. As I said, you just can't cheat on the good diet there. So I recommend, there's some wonderful books. There's this excellent book by two colleagues of mine, dietitian Brenda Davis and pediatrician Reshna Shah. The name of the book is called Nourish, Nourish, and they take all the life stages from childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and then pregnancy, and how to raise a child, all the way into the senior years. So if there's any question, get the book Nourish, read it, and you'll be forearmed to get through a healthy vegan pregnancy. The Vegan Veterinary Resource Group, vrg.org, has wonderful resources as well. There's lots of resources on the internet to how to do a healthy vegan pregnancy and raise a vegan child. So have no fear about it. Welcome it. You're going to have a healthy experience there.
What would your advice to parents be who have a fear of excluding meat and dairy from their child's diet? Do children need animal products to develop and grow properly?
Yeah, this is a common belief that's just not founded in fact. As I said, there's children being raised as vegans around the world by the millions as we speak here. Some, intentionally, some by that there is no meat to eat. The refrigeration is available, etc., and the kids do fine. And this whole idea, your child needs animal products to be healthy. No, they don't. Why? Your child doesn't need any more than you do. Have your child open their mouth. Do they have big long fangs, coming down from the roof of their mouth? Do they have claws on their hands? No, they're little herbivorous eating hominids like you are. And the truth is, absolutely not. There's plenty of protein in grains and beans and lentils, and you can fortify smoothies. There's all sorts of ways to get healthy nutrition into a child, but you absolutely can grow a healthy child. My first little book, Pregnancy, Children, the Vegan Diet, had all these wonderful vegan children that grew up now. One of my friends on the front cover, Joaquin Phoenix, the famous actor, Joaquin grew up as a vegan, still vegan. And I watched him grow up. Yeah, I met Joaquin when he was 7, and now look at him now. So to all those parents out there, relax. So the beans and the lentils and the tofu and now these even the occasional Impossible Burger, they provide plenty of protein. It really is not an issue. So don't fall for that line from the meat and dairy folks. Your child must eat flesh. No, they don't.
Yeah, I was actually at the dentist the other day, and I'm actually good friends with my dentist and her receptionist. And they were like, we're so concerned. And we talk about veganism because they know I'm vegan and I have this show. And they were like, we want to do right by our children and their health, but we're so concerned about dairy specifically. And I was like, and then you're seen from Cowspiracy, right? Milk and just dairy in general is baby
calf growth fluid. I mean, it's great. It's meant to blow a 65-pound calf into a 700-pound cow in a year, but your child doesn't need that. Your child doesn't have a tail and ears and whiskers. It's not human food. Well, where are you going to get your calcium? The same place cows get their calcium. I mean, think about it. Cows don't drink milk. Where do they get all that calcium? They get it out of green plants. That's where the calcium really comes from. The calcium's in the soil that gets taken up by the green plants, and the cows eat the grass and the greens, and that's where they get the calcium. Well, that's where we should get ours, and that's why you want a nice, generous helping on most every dinner, if not lunch and dinner, of something dark and green: kale, chard, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, spinach. They all have calcium. You get calcium fortified orange juice. There's plenty of calcium around. There's no reason to be drinking the milk of a cow. And cow's milk has, the cows are all pregnant now. They're full of estrogens that give women breast lump and guys prostate cancer. They're full of leukemia viruses and growth hormones, and if you want some calcium, eat some greens. But there's just no reason to be consuming the milk of a cow any more than there is the milk of a giraffe or a dog. Would you put dog milk on your cereal? You put rat milk on your cereal? It's a bizarre thing that we think the milk of a cow is needed. No, it is not. We do fine without them. As one who grew up on a dairy farm, let me tell you, you don't need it.
We've been so indoctrinated that we are afraid to actually do right by our children and get them off of something that's hurting them starting so young and then hurts them. And then they see the effects when they're older. And that's what I was telling her. It's like, yeah, we're actually doing more harm than good because of what misinformation people are giving us.
Exactly. Your mother didn't know, and my mother didn't know, and they act on what they see on TV, and comes in and nature's perfect food, only source of calcium, and it gets indoctrinated and gets passed down. But it's not true, and it's actually harmful, as you're saying.
Do all plants contain all 20 amino acids and the 9 essential amino acids, or do we need to combine them to make complete proteins?
Very astute question. The answer is yes. All plants contain all amino acids. Mother Nature cannot construct a kernel of corn without using all 9 essential amino acids, and actually all 20 of amino acids. You can't construct a kidney bean or a lentil without using all the amino acids. Can't do that. And so yes, all plant foods have all the amino acids, and you don't have to combine them for many reasons. You often wind up combining them on the plant when you're making that vegetable soup or whatever. You throw in the rice and the lentils and the greens. You are actually combining just in your cuisine. But even if you ate only potatoes or only lentils or only rice, you would not be protein deficient. You would get all the amino acids that you need. And we chew these foods up. They go down our intestines, And in the hours that it takes to move through the intestinal tract, it'll combine with amino acids from the last meal that you have that are still smeared along the lining of the intestine. The intestine is constantly sloughing intestinal lining cells that add more amino acids into the food mix. There's just no real chance of winding up short of lysine or short of tryptophan if you're eating whole plant foods. Now, if you're living on energy drinks and kind bars, yes, if you're living on vegan junk food that are mostly just sugar and oil, yeah, you can wind up deficient in a lot of things, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, etc. But if you're eating a whole food, plant-based diet, as we keep saying, if it grew out of the garden, it's got all the amino acids, eat it and enjoy it, and don't worry about your protein intake.
What is nutrigenomics, and how does every meal change us on a genetic and molecular level? What are NEU5, GCs, and endotoxins?
Oh my. Well, people underestimate the effect of what our food does to us. We are now understanding that our digestive system is so efficient that within minutes of eating anything, biting into that lentil veggie burger or that Asian stir fry or whatever, Asian casserole, we fry things in vegetable broth, not in oil. Molecules of whatever you ate are washing through every cell in your body where your DNA lies unfolded. And as the food molecules wash across your DNA, they play your DNA like a piano. They turn genes on, they turn genes off. They induce enzymes, they shut enzymes down. Every meal changes us on a genetic molecular level, as you said. And as long as that food stream is based on whole plant foods, you are flooding this wonderful river of phytonutrients through your tissues that are antioxidants. They promote tissue stabilization, tissue repair. They quench free radicals. They are really truly beneficial. Salad after soup, after casserole that goes to our tissues, that helps us heal. But if you're eating the flesh of animals, you inherently are sending a wave of molecules that have really toxic effects. You mentioned NEU5GC. This is a sialic acid that only animals make. It's only in the muscle of animals, cows, pigs, chickens, etc. And it's a very pro-inflammatory molecule. It sets off inflammatory reactions throughout the body. And our paleo friends are giving themselves a shot of NEU5GC 2-3 times a day. And then we're puzzled why the joints get inflamed, the skin gets inflamed, and go, gee, where did this inflammation come from? It's the food, it's the food.
The food all along.
The food all along. Endotoxin, these are bacteria in the slaughterhouse. As the all animals, including grass-fed organic beef, pass through the slaughterhouse, and as the animals, the chickens, the cows, the pigs are eviscerated, their guts are pulled out, the gut bacteria spill all over the cutting surfaces of the slaughterhouse, and so every steak and chop and chicken breast that leaves the slaughterhouse has a coating of these gut bacteria from the animals. In the meat case, the ultraviolet light kills the bacteria, they break apart, and the cell walls of these bacteria form this nasty lipopolysaccharide called endotoxin. This is nasty stuff. One of the intensive care units works with someone in endotoxic shock, this stuff will kill you. It depresses your heart muscle, it releases histamine, releases free radicals, sets off blood clotting, nasty stuff, endotoxin. And it's heat stable. Grilling the burger does not get rid of the endotoxin. So again, our keto friends and our paleo friends are giving themselves a shot of endotoxin 3 times a day. And there's cancer-causing hydrocarbons just from cooking the animal muscle. There's mutagenic aldehydes that damage your genes and set up birth defects. That comes from cooking animal muscle. You introduce meat into the diet, then meal after meal, you're sending wave after wave of these toxic molecules through our system. And then we're mystified, because doctors don't know anything about nutrition. We're mystified when the inflammation sets in, when the cancer sprouts out of the colon wall, when the arteries clog. Gee, bad genes, etiology unknown. Nonsense, doctor. It's the food. It's the food. And we're violating natural law. I've never had a gorilla in the office saying, Doc, I don't know what to eat. I can't keep my hands off the burgers. The animals know what to eat. And when we violate natural law and start eating the diet of the mountain lion, then we get ourselves in trouble.
What advice would you give to somebody when they feel awful because they stopped eating meat? Is there a transitional weaning off period from that acquired dependency?
Wow, a very profound, important question. And the answer is yes. All of us, you probably too, have run into people that, I tried to be vegan once and it didn't work. After a few weeks, I felt I didn't have energy and I felt hungry. And then I ate some meat and whoa, I felt better. I'm a carnivore. They think that this is a validation that we need meat in the diet. But really, what we're looking at there, I think, stems from the fact that in our society, at age 6 months of age, baby's still nursing at the breast with all the love in the parent's heart. Your mother didn't know, my mother didn't know. But at age 6 months, that jar of baby lamb, baby chicken, baby turkey is opened. And from that point on, 3 times a day, animal flesh is slathered on that child's intestinal tract, running through their system, all through infancy, childhood, adolescence, puberty, their teen years, their 20s, their 30s. You eat animal flesh 3 times a day for 30 years since infancy, and you're going to downregulate your genes that produce muscle-related nutrients, carnitine, creatine, because they're coming in preformed 3 times a day in the food. There's no reason to be making your own. And so you become dependent upon this stream of animal-based nutrients. And then at age 35, you listen to our interview, or you see Forks Over Knives, or Seaspiracy, or something makes you go vegan. Yay, that's wonderful. And most people, let me just say, most people can make this transition without a problem. But some 8, 10, 15% of folks, it may take their genes and their enzymes a few months to gear up to make their own carnitine, creatine, myoglobin, all of that. And during that time, they draw down on their own stores of carnitine, creatine, myoglobin, hundreds of them. And they don't feel so good, and they eat some meat, and that floods into their tissues, and they feel better. But what are we watching? What are we witnessing? This is not normal human physiology. This is an acquired dependency produced by feeding a human infant animal flesh 3 times a day since infancy. And you can create this dependency, but that's not normal. So what? You can create a dependency on heroin and all sorts of things. It's not normal. So what does this person do? Some people may need to take a few months, or as long as it takes 18 months, I don't care, to transition. Some people they should all go on a whole food plant-based diet. But some of these folks may need to have a little animal flesh once a week, twice a week, to avoid going into nutritional withdrawal. But it's okay with me. It's sad, but it's just a predicament, the corner we painted ourselves into. But as long as I tell them, just keep extending that interval between the times you're eating that flesh dollop there, and find the smallest amount you need. I'm not talking a big porterhouse steak. Find the smallest amount of animal flesh you think your body requires. And then gradually but steadily keep stretching out the interval. So instead of twice a week, it's twice a month, and then once a month, and then finally just stop buying it as your body gears up there. So yeah, some folks might need a transition period. I cut them lots of slack, but it's no reason to stay stuck because I'm a carnivore. No, you're not. You just got you just got into that groove with no fault of your own. It's going to take you a little while to get out of it, but you can do it.
Why are refined sugar and oil detrimental to our health? Can you help explain why carbs don't make you fat and why the sugar-fat combo is a problem?
First of all, carbs are not evil. We and when I say we, Western society and our media-driven world here, we get lazy and they just take a big broad brush and they paint everything made of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen as carbohydrates. And in that group, they group broccoli, which is mostly carbohydrates. All nature uses carbohydrate sugars to make the structure of plants. So if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, by definition, you are eating a high carbohydrate diet. But those whole plant foods, the broccoli and the rice and the kale and the beans, have a totally different effect in your body than Coca-Colas and vegan donuts and coffee cake and basically eating sugar as a food. And there are calories make you fat. No, we'll talk about the way that carbs and fats work together, those refined carbohydrates. But if you're eating whole plant foods, it is a high carbohydrate diet, but nobody gets fat on broccoli. Nobody gets fat on beans. You can't do that. It's mostly fiber and water that passes on through, leaves you lean and healthy. And that fiber feeds your gut bacteria. It makes you healthy. We are meant to eat a high fiber, high carbohydrate, whole food plant-based diet, pass these big soft stools a couple times a day. That's normal physiology from a healthy high carbohydrate diet. Now that said, what we've taken to do is refining out, processing out the sugars and turning them into vegan donuts and cupcakes and all of that. And that's not good. When you eat sugar as a food, it was never meant to be eaten as a food. It's a flavoring, okay? Half a teaspoon of maple syrup in your tea is okay. But when you're eating a vegan donut, you're eating a chunk of sugar that floods into your tissues, sticks to your proteins, that your body heat oxidizes them into what's called advanced glycation end products, AGEs. It ages you. It stiffens your proteins. They break. They get damaged. And if you saturate the lens proteins in your eye with sugars and oxidize them, it turns into cataracts. If you, as the sugars flow through your skin, it sticks to the elastin fibers in our skin and turns our skin into old suitcases. It ages us. It ages the blood vessels on the inside of the lining of the inside of the blood vessels in our brain, so oxygen can't get into our nerve cells. That opens the door to Alzheimer's. Eating sugar as a food ages us. So that's why you don't want to be eating these junk sugars, these refined sugars as a food. You want something sweet, we all have something sweet. Cut up a mango, have some grapes, for dessert, my wife and I, we have blueberries last night with oat milk on it. It's lovely. There's plenty of sweet around. You don't need to eat a vegan donut to get something sweet. And then you asked about the oils.
Yes.
Oils are not our friend either. Now, fats are fine. We need fats. Your skin oil's made of fat. Your brain's wrapped in fat. You need fat every day, but get it out of whole foods. Get it out of avocados and walnuts and olives. When we crush those foods and turn them into liquid fat in a bottle, we fundamentally changed it. Why? When you eat a coconut, a piece of coconut or a piece of walnut, the micro droplets of coconut oil, walnut oil are firmly bound to the fiber of the walnut and the fiber of the coconut. And as a result, when you eat those foods, it takes hours for your digestive enzymes to get into that piece of walnut and start digesting the carbohydrates to let the micro droplets of fat out and for the lipase to emulsify it and absorb it. And as a result, the small amount of fat in these whole foods gets into the bloodstream very gently. One pass through the liver, pretty much gone. They don't cause much of a upset to the system when you eat these fats in their whole form. But you crush that coconut and you got liquid coconut oil, you crush those out, you got liquid olive oil. Well, you pour a couple tablespoons of that onto your food, you take it into, you drink the stuff, nothing slows down the absorption. Those fats leap into your bloodstream. Now you got 2 tablespoons of coconut oil floating around your bloodstream. It has pharmaceutical effects. It damages the inner lining of the blood vessels. It makes them less able to dilate and let more blood flow to our tissues. These heavy saturated fats coat the red blood cells and make them sticky. So the blood cells start sticking together. Blood gets more viscous, gets more thick after eating a diet with these heavy saturated fats, especially in the liquid form. And so it slows down the oxygen delivery to our tissues. No other animal crushes the fat out of food and pours the liquid fat on its food for good reason. It's really an unnatural, unhealthy thing to do. Get your fats out of whole foods. And after a while, your taste changes. I used to like my vegetables sauteed in oil. Now, someone brought us some in a restaurant. I couldn't eat it. It's just dripping with oil. It got so unpleasant. Trust us, you'll do fine without frying your foods in oil. Fry it in vegetable broth. Fry it in last night's lentil stew juice. Anything that's wet. Cut up an onion and just start sauteing, and it gets all wet in the skillet. Put your veggies into that. You don't need to be pouring liquid vegetable fat on your foods.
And then can we touch on quickly why carbs, the sugar fat combo is a problem, maybe even for vegans who want to lose some weight?
Absolutely. I get vegans who are overweight. I've been vegan for 5 years. I'm still carrying all this weight. Why am I carrying it? Because there's something called, sorry for the science, called oxidative priority. And that means it's easier for the body to burn sugar than burn fat. It's easier for the chemists out there to blow apart a glucose ring of sugar and harvest the energy than to take a long chain fatty acids and clip it off with lots of enzymatic steps. The body doesn't want to do that unless it really has to. So if you eat sugar and fat at the same time, because of the oxidative priority, your body will, sugar and fat, let's burn the sugar. I'll store that fat for later. So if you eat sugar and fat at the same time, you'll burn the sugar and store the fat. Well, what is holding a vegan donut together? There's some kind of fat in there. There's shortening, there's egg yolk, there's lard, there's something in there. All baked goods, by and large, with the exception of some healthy breads, they're all combinations of fat and sugar. But if you're pouring oil on your pasta, you're creating that fat sugar combo. You're putting mayonnaise on the bun of your veggie burger. It's fat and sugar that you're creating there. An almond butter and jelly sandwich, you're going to burn the sugar in the jelly and the bread and store the fat in the nut butter. Now, this is just for people who are trying to lose weight. If you're already as lovely as you are, and you don't have weight to enjoy, put a little almond butter on it's fine. But for those people who are stuck and can't figure out why, it's because you're eating fat and sugar at the same time. Look in your diet. Instead of, you've got a baked potato, instead of putting earth balanced margarine on it, put salsa on it. Put something non-fatty on your starches. Save your fats, the avocado and the tahini dressing, save that for the salad or the greens at night when you're not eating a bunch of starches. So have your potato with salsa for lunch and have your asparagus with tahini dressing on it for dinner along with your vegetable soup, but don't eat the starches at the same time. And again, it's just for people who need to lose weight.
Do older adults need to boost protein intake and IGF-1 levels? If so, how much more protein should they be consuming? And how does one prevent muscle and bone atrophy as well?
We're finding out that folks who are older benefit from a little bit more protein. But again, you can't eat brains and get smarter. It's not a matter of eating muscles and magically having your muscles getting bigger. Seniors, yes, they should have a little bit more protein in their diet. And it's just an extra hummus sandwich, it's an extra scoop or two of bean chili. But then the most important thing, they've got to use those muscles to, that's the only way that you'll keep your muscles strong, is to use them. Use them or lose them, as Mother Nature tells us. And so I tell the seniors, I'm 74, but I tell the seniors to grab a couple of 3-pound hand weights and go out for a nice walk. And every step you take, a little wow of gravitational force will tighten up your muscles, will make your bones stronger. Stay physically active as well as well nourished. And if you do that, you'll be fine. In my living room, I have a recumbent stationary bike, so I sit up on it. I don't hunch over on it. And every other morning, I get on the bike and start pedaling, and I grab a couple of 10-pound hand weights. And while I'm pedaling, I do an upper body workout. So I have 40 minutes of that. I work up a good sweat, and I've done both my upper body and cardiovascular conditioning. And along with the lovely lentil stew that my wife made last night, I'm not worried about my muscle mass disappearing. My bone density is just fine. So boost up the protein a little bit and then go out and be physical, man. Work in the garden, get elastic bands, join a Zumba class, a yoga class, keep moving. And if you do, you'll maintain the fitness that you require.
You and your wife are goals, adopting kittens, going for 12-mile runs, doing your weights on your bike, cooking lentil stews. Like, that sounds like a dream.
Well, but here we are on this, no matter how long our lives are, we're here just for a moment, man. Stay as healthy as you can so you stay out of the clutches of people like me. You don't want to be a medical patient, and go live your life. We're here to love and to serve each other and to learn and to make it a better world. Don't spend time being sick. So this is all to stay out of the clutches of my colleagues, so I can keep on educating the young doctors and helping some animals have a good start in life here. Yes. And my wife's a yoga teacher, so every other morning when I'm not riding the bike, I do salutations to the sun. And you want to keep your flexibility. It's really, keep that spine limber. It's really important. So do both the physical conditioning and the flexibility, and you'll stay healthy.
How is our desire for animal flesh causing the earth to suffer?
Oh my, who is another one of these, you never think about it, but it turns out that every year on planet Earth, we Homo sapiens, not you and me for now, but we Homo sapiens cut the throats of 80 billion, Bill with a B, living creatures, cows, pigs, chickens, sheep, ducks, that love their lives as much as we do. But it turns out that all these 80 billion creatures, they're all breathing out carbon dioxide. Most are belching out methane. They're being fed grains that are grown with ammonia fertilizers that release nitrous oxide into the air. And every one of the major environmental destructive forces bearing down on us, deforestation, soil erosion, soil water pollution, they're all, every one of them is driven by our insatiable appetite for animal flesh. That's why they're cutting down the forest and burning the Amazon to make grazing land and cropland for animal grazing and soybean raising, to shovel down the gullets of animals. Most water in this country goes not to the cities. It goes to irrigate corn, soybean, and alfalfa, to shovel down the gullets of animals, to make cheap government subsidized cheeseburgers. Most water is polluted by animal manure, pesticides, and herbicides sprayed on corn and soybean fields for animal fodder. Most soil is eroding off those fields. And the greenhouse gases, as I mentioned, are being put in the air largely to grow animal flesh. Well, what about all the trucks on the road? What's in the trucks? The entire agriculture industry is in those trucks, the restaurant industry is in those trucks, fast food industry is in those trucks. We're burning the fossil fuels to grow animal flesh. You can't tease it out. And we're just not going to be healthy continuing to eat animal flesh as we are. The beauty, as you probably well know, is that it takes so much less land to grow plants and feed the plants directly to people, that if as a society we change to a whole food plant-based diet, we'll need so much less land. We would free up the land area of Africa to do something else with it, and that would have let the forests come back. And as the forests come back, the trees grow and take carbon dioxide out of the air. The soils would stabilize, the water would purify, the earth would heal again. If the lights are flashing that humans, you want to be healthy as individuals and clean your arteries out, live a long time, adopt a whole food plant-based diet. Homo sapiens as a species, you want to keep living on this earth sustainably, adopt a plant-based diet. It's the time to change the old paradigm has come. Well, we can eat fish. We've used fishing up, as the movie Seaspiracy's made it clear. We've used it up. The Mighty Hunter, we've used that up. No matter what it did throughout history, doesn't matter. It no longer serves us. We must turn the page and become plant-eating creatures again, like we were a million years ago. It's time to return to our true nature. If we do that, everyone will heal. The earth will heal, the people will heal, the animals will heal. So absolutely, our lust for flesh, if we don't survive, our epitaph as a species will be that we died for our lust for animal flesh. And that's a pretty sad for a smart species.
I know.
Homo sapiens. The word homo is one. Sapient is in English, it's a word in English language, it means wise. If you're sapient, you're wise. The homo sapien, the wise one. It's a misnomer. If you're homo sapien, you're wise, stop eating animals.
Last question. How do we effectively communicate to others, the public, that a whole food plant-based diet is not only safe, but effective and quite frankly, the only way to heal and prevent so many diseases that plague humans today?
Oh my, that's the question. Oh, if there was a big red button to push that would suddenly put that realization, people says I'd be on it with both thumbs. How do we do it? We're standing at the base of this huge mountain to climb, it seems, or we're trying to turn this huge ocean liner of the public here. So how do we do this? Well, fortunately, we do have tools. It's the food and social media. First of all, the food, you got to put the food in their mouths, and people eat that lovely Asian curry and the veggie burgers and the stir fries. Ooh, I could eat that. Ooh, that's not bad. That makes all the difference. And the food is now getting better and better, and you can order it in restaurants. Yeah, so that's helping. Second, society has changed. Everybody knows somebody who's eating more plant-based. There's a veggie section on every restaurant menu. It's no longer a fringe thing. Yeah. And third, the social media is now getting it out there. The films, the podcasts. Thank you. And the kids are waking up. They know something's up. They all love animals, especially the little ones. When they hear what a lamb chop really is and what a beef burger really is, they're horrified. Yeah. And many of them are carrying that awareness into adulthood now, and the vegan movement is growing. And so podcasts like yours, where you lend your stardom and your beauty to this message, people said, well, if she's turned on to this, I want to learn more about this. And so it's getting out there. They say you can't keep a hat pin in a cloth bag for very long. The point comes out, and they should start putting in policies to make it easier for the people growing meat and dairy products to do something else with their land. You don't have to run cattle on it. Grow broccoli, grow fruit trees, pay them to let the forest come back. Help these people transition to do something else with the land. And we all would be healthier if we drastically cut down our meat consumption, and the healing would begin. So the truth is we all do need to eat much less meat. None at all is best, as you and I know. And so we're in that transition time. So it's a matter of, and the most important thing is set a good example. Be a healthy vegan, non-judgmental. Don't be a violent, obnoxious vegan and wagging your finger. Set a good example. Be healthy. And when people ask, know your lines. You're an actress, know your lines, and know what to tell people. Now, when they ask, well, where do you get your protein? Educate yourself. But the best thing, set a good example and make some dynamite bean stew and lentil chili and share it with your neighbors, and the word will get around.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Love, Gianna. And
love Dr. Michael Klaper. Thank you, Gianna, and all your listeners. All the best.